Hello and welcome to a very special interview with a very special man. I have seen him compete and I did not want to see him win. That's also a fact, but he was very, very good. Nicco Campriani, Olympian and now sports director of LA28, someone I've seen over the last, 15, 20 years, and what tremendous accomplishment. Joining me this morning, wearing his multiple hats in India during the IOC session. Thank you very much for your time. First thoughts, from competing in the Olympic range to now becoming administrator, tell me a little bit about your journey.
Yes, well, it has been indeed quite a journey. I stopped competing in Rio 2016, just like Abhinav. Actually, we retired at the same time with the same competition, the Olympic final in Rio, and since then, it's quite a challenge for any elite athlete to redefine what's next, and it's not just something in terms of I need to find a job. It's more like I need to find a new identity, and that has been definitely an interesting stage of my life. But in 2017, in the end, I decided to join the International Olympic Committee, the IOC, in Lausanne, in Switzerland. I spent beautiful 5 years in Lausanne and learn a lot and work on a number of projects, including, of course, the refugee team, as well as the sport program. So everything that goes into definition of sport, discipline, and events at the Olympic Games, as well as any other project. So after that, I left in 2021, December 21, I left the IOC. It was time to figure out what was next. I spent a little bit of time looking around, and since June 22, so it has been more than a year now, I joined the Los Angeles 2028 organizing committee for both Olympics and Paralympic Games. And here I am in Mumbai now, speaking on behalf of the organizing committee, and it was a big milestone for us with the proposal of the inclusion of 5 new sports, with a very unique package that included cricket.
See, I didn't ask that question. You've given me a lead. You've given me a lead by mentioning the word that all of India wants Nicco Campriani to talk about more after his comment at the IOC session where he says, quote, my friend Virat Kohli with 300 plus social media followers. Just tell me a little bit about, the what you meant by that. Combination of so many, obviously he's a huge icon, but when you included cricket, it's a fascinating story and a great market in India. Your thoughts about it?
Yes, just the fact that sentence went viral is a great testimony of the power of my friend Virat, as well as the platform of cricket. It really went viral. It was kind of funny because, just to be clear, I'm sure he's a lovely person. I'm not a close friend of Virat. It was just a way to bring it up into the conversation, and I apologize if I was misleading in that. But look, it's really mind blowing to talk about cricket and present cricket here in Mumbai, in India. Like we could feel that excitement the day. That the moment we walk outside that room, look, we are thrilled to welcome, the world's second most popular sport. The facts are facts. This estimated number of 2.5 billion of fans worldwide is going to be a game changer for the LA28 Games, but also for the whole Olympic movement. And there were, few questions also from the members, is like, okay, but why in LA? Why not waiting until next games? And Brisbane, of course, Australia being one of the strong countries in cricket, and in the end, people don't realize how important is actually the growth of cricket in US, and it's truly it has already started. It has already started with the MLC, with the Major League Cricket, and people will realize it more and more now with the T20 World Cup coming next year, next summer, in US, in iconic location in US, as well as the West Indies. So it's going to be a unique platform to boost this process. And it was important. Cricket really played a strategic role when it comes to the package, right? It's you can see that there are some traditional American sport like flag football as the contact-free version of American football, as well as lacrosse, as well as baseball, softball. So it was important to propose a package that was balanced in that sense, and I think that narrative, which is, I think, in the end, very clear, of showcasing American sport to the world and introducing global sport to the US. That's really what we wanted to send as a message. So, but yeah, I thought it was really funny that it really went viral. It's I reached out to Abhinav in case he knew Virat, which, by the way, he does, and it's like, okay, so stay sorry for me. It's like, I didn't mean it, but if anything, it's a great testimony of what cricket is in India, and yeah, it's truly mind blowing.
No, I mean, that comment, there's no need for an apology, because if that comment spurs Virat on to play till LA28 and represent India and try and wear that Olympic medal around his neck, each one of us will go and give you, a piece of dark chocolate saying, thank you very much, Nicco, for doing this. So no need of an apology at all. But you made a very important point there about global sport and American sport. And the other sport that struck me, which has been trying for a long time, is squash. Your thoughts about that?
Yeah, it was time for squash. Absolutely. I mean, racket sport is growing like crazy. I mean, it's you can see squash as well as paddle and pickleball. It's they're all racket sport that they keep growing. So there is definitely appetite for more and more racket sports. Squash is truly the natural candidate. There is the strong governance behind the sport, which is important. It's not just the appeal of the sport, but also how well each sport is structured. And at both in terms of member federation, universality, but also, and it was a recurrent theme throughout the presentation, the fact that there is a strong professional league behind the World Squash Federation with PSA. It's an important consideration. Like you need to get as many allies that you can get when it comes to growing a sport, and the pro tour of squash is a really big one. So look, we are really, really excited, and yes, it's the first time that comes into the Olympic Games, but I feel like the best testimony of the value of squash is truly the fact that squash is already in 8 multi-sport games. It's and a variety of them, from the World Games to the Commonwealth Games to the University Games to the Asian Games to and so forth and so forth. And when it comes to this organizing committee, they have a lot of flexibility in defining the sport program. So they do look for compelling content that is also financially sustainable. The fact that squash is so popular for me is by default a testimony of it. And now we're really to bring it to the next level with the Olympic inclusion. And again, it was lovely to interact with some of the squash players here and see how one announcement can all of a sudden spark something into an athlete, and all of a sudden everybody is chasing this Olympic dream, and I'm fascinated to see what's going to happen. I think this is a key point, right? It's important we look at the numbers. It's important that we have key criteria. It's important that we have metrics. It's also important that we don't forget the human side of it. And the truth is, the announcement of 2 days ago will change people's lives, as simple as that. Because it's truly having the opportunity of having a dream come true that makes life interesting. And if you look at what this Olympic dream did for Abhinav and I, has been incredible, right? It's you start with the idea that I need to be better than someone else. Then at some point in the journey, you realize that no, that's a distraction. It's actually about becoming a better athlete, becoming a better person, and the focus shift from the others to yourself. And then at some point also down this journey, and you can see that very clearly in the post career of Abhinav and I, it's not enough to be a better athlete. It's not enough to be a better person. You kind of want a better world, and this concept of giving back and trying to make a difference. It's can you imagine if this journey that Abhinav and I embarked, like, I don't know, 20 years ago, now is going to be the journey of hundreds of millions of young athletes.
I can't agree more. I mean, beautifully said, the human side of it. And I know what you mean by that, because I was speaking to Saurav Ghoshal, for example, one of India's best and very close friend of mine. And that night when you all made that announcement, and he said, look, I was about to call it a day. I've won 6 Asian Games medals, etc. But now I will be 42, but can I drive myself? I want to be there. I want to have that tag of Olympian. And maybe, who knows? I mean, that pursuit of excellence and that, and these things change lives. So I can't agree more. And as I said, beautifully articulated in the manner, the human side of it. One further question before I take you to you and Abhinav, because both of you are people who I've followed closely. Abhinav, I can call one of my closest friends. You use the word financially sustainable. For a sport like cricket, how important a consideration was that when you chose it? Because clearly this market, the global south, the Indian market, brings in a lot of this financially sustainable point. I mean, massive cricket market. Also in the US, the Indian diaspora, for example. How important is that as a consideration, if at all, for LA28?
It wasn't just important for cricket; it was important for the entire package. We want to put together absolutely the most compelling program ever, but we absolutely have the commitment to do that in a financially sustainable way, and we breathe that financial responsibility every single day. When it comes to the new sport proposal, that was absolutely one of the key consideration and a bit of a North Star. So it was important for us to know that every single new sport that we would add it would be financially sustainable, meaning that we would be looking at existing venues, and I'm talking about world-class venue in LA and in the United States, and continue to stay true to our philosophy of a no-build games, so no new permanent venues built for the games. We have an incredible opportunity here to see how a Major League Cricket as well as the T20 World Cup will further grow cricket in the US, and see if there is an opportunity to leverage and create a synergy in that, like the venues that will be built as part of the Major League Cricket and the 6 franchise that are currently competing in the Major League Cricket. So piggyback on that. So it's a really important one, and I think for us as an organizer, you're really looking at venue cost, operating cost, but then you have also the broader consideration more as an Olympic movement of what bringing cricket means. But I think for us it's really important to make sure that that financial sustainability is there in everything we do. It wasn't about bringing new sport at all costs, not at all. So that was absolutely a key consideration, not just for cricket, but for the whole package.
Final two questions, one you and Abhinav. From competitors to friends to steering the refugee project to someone, I mean, in my case, I've never spoken to you personally before this interview, except interviewing you during Olympic Games. But it seems to me that I know you having spoken to Abhinav so many times. So you and Abhinav, please.
Yeah, no, I think it's true. I think it's a great observation. I think it's not only the fact that we shared the same coach. I think it's the fact that we decided to structure our life in a very similar way for many years of our life. I always felt that when I was competing as an Olympian, and that's really the power of the Olympic Games, right? I always had like two families. One, of course, was always extremely proud to represent Italy, my country. And there are a lot of things that, make me similar to other fellow Italians in terms of, no cappuccino after 11 a.m. our passion for specific food or culture and so on. And there are common traits, but there are absolutely a lot of common traits among our sport shooters community. It's amazing. It's like I have so many things in common with Abhinav, with other international shooters around the world. They truly are my family. They were my family at the time that I was competing, but now that we're done competing, even more. We're check on each other all the time, and I was lucky enough to not only stay in touch with Abhinav, but work with Abhinav on a number of projects after we both retired. Like again, the refugee project when we supported a group of athlete refugees in their journey to qualify for Tokyo 2020 in our sport, which it was quite a journey. I was coaching, Abhinav was helping with the fundraising. And it was really about not only changing the life of these athletes, but hopefully inspiring other Olympic champions to do the same thing with their own refugee and asylum seeker community back home. Look, it's really cool that we are also in a stage of our life where we are changing. It's every time that I see Abhinav, I see him like once, twice a year. We are in contact almost weekly, but I saw him here at the session after a very long time, and it's amazing how we are thinking what's next, and this passion about trying to make a difference to the people around us in our respective capacity. Now, of course, my tool is potentially a sport program of the Olympic Games. Abhinav's has tons of other projects. So, but we are trying to make a difference, and yes, I can't stress this enough. It's with this proposal of the new sport. Yes, we are inspiring athletes to embark this remarkable journey for the next 5 years, and hopefully, be in LA, become an Olympian. But it's much bigger than that. It's really much bigger than that. And once you get there, it's never going to be enough. And then if half of these Olympian, after they've gone through this journey, will become as passionate as Abhinav and I are in trying to make a difference and change the world. That's what we would have started here, 2 days ago in Mumbai, will make absolutely a big difference. So it's yeah.
I can't agree more again, because the world needs mad people like you guys wanting to change the world, and I'm serious. I mean, I'm older than both of you, but I've seen both of you evolve as human beings. In your case, from a distance; in Abhinav's case, from close quarters. And as an academic, I understand. I mean, that is the power of sport. It's not about records broken or scores or gold medals or whatever. It is about changing human lives, and that's why it's a movement. You don't call the FIFA World Cup a movement. You call the Olympics a movement, and that's the word that sort of makes a difference to me. It's ritual. It's movement. It's about changing lives, and that's what you guys are doing. Last question. You've come to, I mean, maybe this is not part of your brief, but I'm still asking you. Mumbai session, you've seen what the kind of interest. The Asian Games medal hall. All of a sudden, the Prime Minister making the announcement about 2036, possible bid for 36, possible bid for York 29. How your take on India and how this country, because look, a cricket World Cup is going on. That's the language of this country. Having said that, the IOC session was front page. The IOC session was the sports headline. That gives me a huge amount of hope as far as the Olympic movement in India is concerned. Whether it's Mrs. Ambani leading it, whether it's Abhinav and people backing it up, I'm very hopeful about the Olympic movement in India. You, having seen Mumbai, your thoughts, even if it's as an observer?
Look, and my experience of India has always been through the lenses of a sports shooter, right? So for me, this excitement about the Olympics, this is not the first time I see it. Every time that I was coming here in India, I was, with Abhinav and doing clinic with athletes here in India and coaching, and so maybe I have a little bit of a distorted reality, but absolutely in the bubble that I experienced every time I was coming to India, everybody was so passionate about the Olympic Games. So I feel like now with the session and the inclusion of cricket in the games, there are more and more people that are waking up to this unique opportunity. It's of course hard for me to comment on future hosts, and process is of course a very complicated one, and putting together a bid requires a lot of work and assessment done, and there is a lot of responsibility that goes into it. But maybe if I can close it, with a point that kind of wrap up the new sport proposal, my relationship with Abhinav, as well as your last question is it's when we were competing, Abhinav and I, one thing that we always heard from our coaches is like, don't go too far, don't try too hard. It's like that you're pushing yourself too far. It's like just be reasonable, right? It's like be reasonable, don't be extreme. And then I found a quote, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, which is amazing, where it says, reasonable people try to adapt themselves to the world. Unreasonable people try to adapt the world to themselves. Therefore, any single progress in the world is done by unreasonable people. So, and I'm not suggesting India to be unreasonable, but go for it. I think it takes a little bit of courage to try to change things, and I think that passion that Abhinav and I put in every single thing we do, and more athletes and fellow Olympians will put into their post career, and what India can do in their pursuit of an Olympic dream. I mean, we need courage and we need hope, and yeah, absolutely go for it.
I do interviews for a living, Nicco Campriani, almost every single day, but this was one special one. I mean, deep insights, enjoyed it every single minute. And as I said, I mean, I've enjoyed watching you compete as an athlete, and thereafter followed your journey very closely. I wish you all the very best and continue to be unreasonable, because that's why you shape the world. Otherwise, you would just be one of many. And that's not what we want in today's world, because we know this world needs such people. We know this world is not a fair world. We know this world needs a lot of good people to make good things happen. And you and Abhinav are good people, and good things happen to good people. Thank you very, very much for your time. I appreciate you joining me, giving your insights, and this is the first of many, because I'm continuing to bug you for the next 5 years. You've not simply ignited athletes' dreams, you've ignited our dreams as well. to keep following this journey as closely as possible. Thank you very much. Have a safe flight back home and look forward to catching up physically at some point in time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.